Hey there, Mitch Ross, MitchRossMusic.com. Hello, patrons who get to see this first. Hello, YouTube subscribers and followers and stumblers who find this or stumble uponers, I guess. Is that a word? You know what? I read a book when I was about 13 years old called In His Own Right, which was a book written by John Lennon. And if you can read that and decipher all that, you understand that you can make up your own words too. It's fully doable as long as, you know, well, there's as long as nothing. Anyway, so YouTube stumble uponers, Facebook followers and fans, and today we're going to talk a little bit about my Squier Classic Vibe, I think. Yeah, it's a classic vibe. What the hell? This is my Squier Classic Vibe Telecaster. Really like this guitar. I have a few guitars. Right now, this is my. There's anyways, never mind. Sorry. I have a few guitars. People who've been following me for a while, you've seen them. This guitar, though, is the guitar that's being played the most at the moment. See the reflection of me in my monitor from my laptop? Anyways, it's got nice binding around the sides. It doesn't. That does nothing to improve the sound. It does nothing. It's aesthetically it looks a little bit more pleasing, right? It's got a 3 pickup selector switch right here, and I just got to move my mouse cursor. So it's got a 3 position selector switch all the way this way, which is position 3. All the way back is position 1. Doesn't make any sense to me, but that's fine. This all the way forward is just for the neck pickup, the pickup closest to the neck. If you don't play guitar, you don't know. All the way back is the bridge pickup, the pickup closest to the bridge. Again, if you don't play guitar, then you don't know. And then in the middle is both pickups simultaneously. I think they're in series. Maybe they're in parallel. I don't know. Somebody will tell me. Somebody will correct me for being wrong. Somebody corrects me for being wrong even when I know that I'm right. But that's fine too. Anyways, so the reason why I wanted to show you this guitar today is a few things. It's become my main guitar to play the past little while because I've been having a lot of problems with my hands again, and like a drop in strength in my hands, which is kind of hard to believe when you have hands this size, right? But I'm not quite sure what's causing that. We're not quite sure what's causing some of these other things either yet. But I do know a lot of people who are having problems with hand strength. I have people that I know who've had strokes. I have people that I know who've had other injuries, and strength in their hands is a real problem. Now, there's going to be a video done real soon that's going to show you some strength building exercises that I do, and some stretches and some things like that to try and deal with some of those issues. But for the guitar, I've had to do a few kind of extreme things that I never thought I would do as a guitar player. I was always one of those guys who thought, the thicker your strings, the thicker your sound. Well, that turns out to be a total falsehood. There's been a few videos done on that lately, and if I remember, I'll link to them in the bottom. I'll tell you what does affect. So I at one point in time I played with strings that were called medium heavies, which were about a 13 for the first string, and to a 52, I think it was, for the sixth string. And I would do bar chords with those, and I'd only be able to do like maybe one song with bar chords, and another song would have to be open position chords, and then bar chords, and then open position chords, because I never could develop the strength to just play like an hour of bar chord songs. But I was all convinced that these super thick strings, those were my salvation. That's part of what people now. I think people now they fall for this thing. I guess it's. I guess people like to blame it on Stevie Ray Vaughan, but it's not just because of Stevie Ray Vaughan. There's a few other people who played with overly thick strings, and got a great big huge tone out of it. And everybody figures, oh well, if I get those strings, I'll get that tone. You know how you get my tone? You've got to be me with my fingers. You know how I get your tone? I've got to be you with your fingers. Tone doesn't come from strings and equipment. Strings and equipment help get your tone heard. The better quality equipment, the better quality cables, guitar cables, amps, speakers, all of this stuff, the better sounding room. All of these things all go towards enhancing your tone, but your tone comes from you. Your tone comes from your fingers. And I knew that for a long time. That was something that I had figured out, and I stopped playing with overly thick, stupidly heavy strings by that point anyways. But when I started studying classical guitar, in classical guitar they teach you that your tone comes from your fingertips. Your tone is unique to you. It's unique to the amount of flesh, it's the amount of callus that you have. And I've never let me see, I started playing in 1975, so 45 years, because we're in 2020 right now. I never did develop those big, thick, plasticky, hard calluses that everybody else seems to get. My fingertips, the skin on my fingertips will still just shred apart. But at any rate, it's about the skin on your fingers. It's the amount of flesh that you have at your fingertips. It's the bone. It's the thickness of the bone. It's how thick your fingers are. It's where they're positioned on the neck. These things affect your tone. How you're playing, that's your tone. And you will spend your life trying to perfect your tone. Its pedals will help it or not help it, if depending on the kind of thing that you're doing, right? If you're doing, I play a lot of blues stuff. I've got pedals in my pedal board that have nothing to do with playing blues stuff. They have to do with me just wanting to create a cacophony of sound every now and then. And but at any rate, you don't have to have a ton of gear. You don't have to have the highest price gear. I've walked into hawk shops and grabbed guitars that were on sale for $40 and plugged them into amps that were like worth $40 and picked up the guitar, played for a little while, put it down, and then watched people go over and start trying to check out the guitar. Did I make it sound amazing? No. Did I make it sound playable? Yeah. But at any rate, enough about me, because I'm my least favorite topic. So your tone comes from your body. Your tone comes from your posture, how you're holding the guitar, the angle of the neck. It's all of these other things. Anyways, back to why I've been playing this guitar a lot. My hand strength is gone. Some days it's perfect, and some days it's a little bit less than perfect. And I need consistency. Any musician needs to have some consistency in their life. I can't control the days that my arm and hand are numb, but I can control elements of the guitar. So why I started with this guitar is because it already came with a set of extra light gauge strings on it. I have not played with extra light gauge strings since about 1982 or 83, but I have been gradually decreasing the string gauge over the past few years. So it's not like I went from mediums to extra light. Okay, it's been a progress. Been a process rather of going down, and so now. And I'm going to see what I can do here with this camera, and I hope I don't hit the mic. But if you can see, just what you're looking for is the height of the strings between the fingerboard and the neck. So right up in here. You're looking for the height of those strings. You see how low that is? That's crazy low. Crazy low action. It shouldn't be playable like this. Honestly, it really shouldn't be. And even on the bass side, you can see it's very, very, very low. I wish I could get a better look at that for you guys. Why so low? To make it easier to play. To make it easier to play bar chords. To make it easier to just keep playing and play for, for a half hour or an hour. Without causing myself massive amounts of pain in my upper spine and my neck and all of this other stuff that nobody has an explanation for. But at any rate, now on the days when my hands are working really, really well, I can overbend on these and go way too sharp. So it's really like I really have to focus when I'm playing. I really have to concentrate. So the fact that I'm having problems with my hands again is actually making me a better guitar player again, or better musician overall, because like I said, I'm spending more time paying attention to the pitch because I have to. I have to make sure that I'm not underbending or overbending. Ooh, bad note. So at any rate, that's why this guitar has become the one that I'm playing the most, because I'm troubleshooting, I'm working out how I'm going to change strings on other instruments, how I'm getting my to still keep getting a good solid thick tone. It's all about finger placement, so I'm correcting things with my finger placement. I'm making sure that my hands are a little bit more coordinated. Like I'm making sure that they're coordinated. Because when I start getting numb hands, the coordination tends to go off because this hand, my fretting hand, doesn't seem to want to move quite as fast, or it just doesn't want to listen to the signals I'm sending it, like my brain, thinking, move to this fret, and it's moving there a little bit slower sometimes than what I'm wanting it to. But you practice and you keep going and you keep going and you keep going, and eventually it just kind of it all smooths out and it becomes completely not noticeable to you, the listener, which is ultimately the goal, right? So why am I doing this video talking about all of this stuff? Well, one of the reasons is that I know quite a few people who've had strokes in the past few years. I know people who've had neck and spinal cord injuries. They've said to me, I can't play guitar. I can't play guitar anymore. I can't do what I used to do. And I'll agree with you. You know what? I can't do what I used to do either. But what I do now, I do much more efficiently and with much more focus and paying a lot more attention than I was for a while. I mean, you just get used to things, right? You start taking stuff for granted. And you just kind of keep blasting through and playing and playing and playing, and you don't really think about, well, wait a second, what happens if something happens and I can't play? What am I going to do then? Well, you can find another instrument. There's a lot of ways to do things electronically. That's one thing, but there is really nothing like playing a stringed instrument. It doesn't matter if you're a violinist or you play mandolin or banjo or guitar or whatever. There's something much more. How do I explain this? I've played flute, and flute is all about a good aperture. How much air you're blowing out of your mouth through a tiny little space, and controlling the width or the narrowness of that space to get different sounds and tones. But you're playing the instrument, and it's like this, right? It's not up against you. It's not on your shoulder. It doesn't vibrate and resonate against you. I guess some of the brass instruments, maybe, or some of the larger woodwinds, maybe a bassoon, maybe tuba, French horn. Because when you're holding something out and it's like this, like a trumpet, I mean, you feel the vibration in your mouth and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong. You feel a vibration. You feel a physical connection. You feel physical connection when you're playing piano, right? But it's just not the same thing. It just doesn't resonate through your body the same as a stringed instrument's going to do. So there's a special connection between stringed instruments and the people who play them that makes it maybe even a little bit more personal. I don't know if you're a flautist or a pianist or something like that. Maybe you can argue with me about this, but and that's fine. I'd love to hear somebody else's opinion of that. But at any rate, for people who lose the ability to play guitar, it's really devastating. And it would be for any instrument. It'd be devastating to not be able to sing at all anymore or anything like that. But I've gone through this kind of a situation 2 other times before. Once when I was 21 and I was supposed to have my arm amputated because of infection. And the other time when I was in college and I was so over practicing and so overdoing things that I did do damage to my muscles. I did do damage to the tendons in my hand. And because I was just so obsessed with it, I kept going. And that ensured that it took even longer for things to get better. Both times, right? Well, the first time was really devastating because I couldn't even make a fist. Like I couldn't move my hand at all. Whoops. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do this. That took weeks to be able to just do that. It took me months to be able to get my hands back and then try to learn how to play again and stuff like that. First thing I did was grab my bass, and all I did was play bass for about the first 6 months. Because I play bass, but I love playing guitar. I really, really like playing bass, but I love playing guitar. I'm very passionate about guitar. So I was playing bass for a while just because I was kind of a little bit too, what's that word I'm looking for? Oh, yeah, chicken shit. I was too chicken shit at the time to be able to deal with the fact that maybe I couldn't play guitar again. So I started off with bass and I worked out all the kinks and got my fingers moving and got my hands coordinated, all that crap again. Got that all going. And then I started moving over to guitar again, and that was a slow process. It was probably from the time I got the infection and got released from the hospital till the time I could maybe play 2 or 3 songs in a row. Probably took me, it took about a year before I could play a full set. How's that? Roughly that. Maybe a little longer. And I had to relearn to not just reteach my hand how to move and everything like that, but I had to deal with the fact that there were certain moves that I had spent over a decade getting down pat that I was never going to do again. So I had to find a different way to get those sounds. I had to find a different way to approach the instrument. I've had to do that a few times now. And keep finding a different way to keep playing, because to me the most important thing is to be able to keep playing. The most important thing isn't to be the flashiest guy on stage. The most important thing is being able to play the exact perfect and exact right thing for the song. So maybe you're not even playing a guitar solo. Maybe you're playing a chord solo. Maybe you're just playing rhythm guitar through the whole thing and letting somebody else solo, right? That's awesome too. That's great. That's a lot of fun, because the whole point is about playing guitar and keep finding ways to keep playing. No matter what challenge you're having, there's, short of an amputation, and even then, there's still ways to figure out how to get certain things done. So at any rate, that's my little motivational message. That's talking about my inexpensive little Squier Classic Vibe. I need to replace the bridge on this because I really don't like the bridge on this. and I'll do a video about that when I replace the bridge and show you why. And I might upgrade the electronics a little bit. I'm not sure. I kind of like the way the pickups sound. They're not too noisy. And but I think maybe I'd like to. Sorry, I keep hitting that mic. I'm sorry, folks. I'd like to take the plate here and reverse it so I have this on this side and the button on this side. Now the thing is, to do that, I would have to put the volume control here, the tone control would be here, and then this switch would have to be facing the correct way. So it means I'd have to take apart all the wiring, add a little bit longer wiring inside, and get that done. And I keep trying to figure out if it's actually worth it, if it's going to make any difference to playing the guitar or not. But we'll see. Anyways, that's it for me right now. Mitch Ross, MitchRossMusic.com. Thank you, patrons. And when you guys get to see it, thank you, YouTubers and Facebook followers and everybody else. I hope you're getting through the COVID crisis. I hope it hasn't affected you or your family or your friends or your coworkers or anybody you know. A lot of people are still sick, and a lot of people have they've passed away, and you know, my heart really does go out to all the families who've been affected with this, and there's a lot of people who are having life-changing, long-lasting, long-term illness related to having caught this. So my best to all of you, and hopefully we'll be out of all of this soon. And that's it. Bye for now.